read it, or skip it. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving back into Bayview. You know, that town. Seems like it basically runs on teenage secrets and, well, diddly games.
Yeah, if you've been following along, you know a quiet life there isn't exactly on the cards.
Not at all. And now we've got the finale. One of us is back. So we're bracing ourselves for one last, probably wild ride.
Exactly. We found this really interesting review of the book, Karen M. McManus's latest. And our mission, like always, is to pull out the key stuff for you.
Right. We want to figure out, does this final book really stick the landing for the longtime fans?
And, you know, if you're just jumping into Bayview now, can you even follow along? Or are you going to feel totally lost?
Let's dig in.
Okay, let's crack this open then. So the review jumps right in, talking about constant twists, right up to the last page, apparently.
Which, let's face it, is pure Bayview, isn't it? That's the brand. Totally. Never a dull moment, maybe throw in a murder. But this time, the review says the stakes feel even higher. They mention this clever move of bringing the original crew back together with the kids from book 2.
Like a super group of mystery solvers.
Yeah, like a band reunion, but with, secrets instead of guitars. What do you think? Could that be too much? Like, too many cooks in the kitchen?
Well, it's interesting. The reviewer really highlights the tension. Says it's consistent, and the pace is just relentless. So McManus seems to still have that knack for keeping you hooked.
Okay.
And she's using those red herrings again, those misleading clues. Classic move. Keeps you guessing about everyone.
Right.
Now, putting two groups together could get messy, sure. But the reviewer seems pretty positive, calls the plotline thrilling. So maybe that combined brain power actually works here.
And speaking of crowds, it looks like McManus made a smart move with the narrators this time. Yeah, apparently the first 2 books had, 7 first-person narrators.
Wow, 7. That's a lot to keep track of.
I know, trying to follow a really intense group chat where everyone's got a secret.
Definitely.
But for this one of us is back. They've cut it down to just 3. Addie, Nate, and Phoebe.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the reviewer specifically says this streamlining is good, otherwise it would have been way harder to follow. Focus helps, right? Especially with all the lies flying around Bayview.
Yeah, that focused approach is probably key. Lets you go deeper with those main characters, see what they're going through in this final game.
Mm-hmm.
And the review also mentions Simon Kelleher is still a big presence, even though he's, well, gone.
How does that work?
Through flashbacks, apparently. Chapters with his memories. So his legacy, his shadow, it still looms large. It's kind of like the ghost of Bayview past, still messing with things.
Okay, interesting. So here's where it gets, really juicy. The review suggests that maybe book 2 wasn't quite as strong, but this one, a real comeback.
Right.
They talk about a fresh and intelligently thought out plot, exploring stuff that wasn't touched on before. And guess who's back in the spotlight? Jake Riordan.
Jake. Really? He wasn't exactly Mr. Popularity.
Not even close. So bringing front and center, that's a bold choice. Makes you wonder, redemption or just more trouble.
Well, connecting that back, it seems like McManus might be challenging how we first saw some characters.
Yeah.
And the review mentions Nate's relationship with his parents gets followed through. That suggests a real effort to wrap up those long-running character arcs. People like seeing that.
Oh, for sure.
And the fact that the reviewer calls tying up all the plot strands an achievement, that's a very good sign. Nobody wants dangling threads at the end of a trilogy.
Definitely not. And amidst all the plotting, the review stresses that the stakes feel real, like genuine fear and tension for the characters, even while they're doing normal teen stuff.
That mix of ordinary life and, extreme danger is kind of the series' secret sauce, isn't it?
Totally. They even describe these moments of sudden panic, like when they're chasing clues or someone disappears, comparing it to a spike on a heart monitor. Sounds intense.
That buildup of tension is classic thriller stuff.
Yeah.
Good to hear it's working well here. The reviewer does mention familiar twists, so fans might recognize some techniques. Those rug pull moments Bayview is famous for.
Right, the McManus signature.
Exactly. But, crucially, they also say the final reveal is still surprising and nuanced enough that it actually works, which is a tricky balance, right? Giving you the thrills, but also a shock that feels earned.
Yeah, not just random. Okay, let's talk history. Bayview history. Apparently the whole Simon and Jake backstory is super important here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the review says it's extremely well woven into this final book's plot. It underpins everything happening now. It sounds like a reward for readers who've been paying attention all along.
That definitely suggests some careful planning across all 3 books.
Uh-huh.
And they also mention Jake's family stuff, his dad, his parents' relationship. Apparently, that adds depth, even though he's still, quote, impossible to like.
Huh. Well, compelling characters don't always have to be likable, I guess.
True, their messiness can be just as interesting.
And then there's Phoebe. Sounds like she's walking a tightrope the whole time.
How so?
The review calls her perspective easily the most fascinating. She's caught between the murder club, her brother Noah, her feelings for Knox, and she's tangled up in Jake's interview somehow.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right, like she's always in these precarious spots, but the reviewer notes her intentions are basically good underneath it all. That kind of moral gray area is always compelling, you know?
Yeah, those internal conflicts make characters feel real, especially under Bayview's crazy circumstances. Her trying to do right, even when things get messy, probably pulls you in. Then you've got Nate. We've seen his whole journey. Still impulsive, apparently?
Some things never change.
Huh, maybe not. But his relationship with his dad is better, and the romance with Bronwyn is still going strong. So, there's some growth, some resolution there, which is satisfying.
Definitely good to see characters get some kind of positive ending. And even the side characters like Bronwyn and Chase, not the main focus, but they still get great moments.
That's good. Keeps the ensemble feel alive.
And Addie. The reviewer seems to really love Addie, calls her the most standout character.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Praises her whole trajectory, her growth since book 1. Says she's thoughtful, down to earth, a really good friend. Especially with Jake being back on the scene. Sounds like her arc really paid off.
Addie's journey does sound like a real highlight then. Her growth, dealing with everything she's been through, makes her relatable, admirable probably, and still being supportive, even with someone like Jake around. Says a lot.
Okay, but it can't be all perfect, right? Any weaknesses mentioned?
Well, yeah. One potential issue the review points out is just the sheer number of characters.
The ensemble cast problem.
Exactly. Some characters apparently don't get much development, and it's not always clear how they fit into the main group's dynamic.
Any examples?
They specifically mention Maeve and Luz. Their relationship feels underdeveloped, and the reviewer even felt Louis's presence was kinda unnecessary.
Okay, that can happen. Sometimes trying to include everyone means some get short shrift.
It's a common challenge, especially in a final book trying to give closure. Focusing on Addie, Nate, and Phoebe might mean some others faded a bit. A potential missed opportunity, maybe.
But setting aside that minor point, the reviewer seems to really appreciate Bayview itself, the town.
Oh yeah,
Describes it as a place where weird things happen with worrying regularity. Limited future prospects, police who aren't exactly Sherlock Holmes.
sounds about right for Bayview.
Yeah. It's like the town is its own character, this flawed backdrop that enables all the secrets and chaos.
That well-realized setting is so important for the atmosphere, right? Makes the wild plots feel slightly more grounded somehow. Bayview's reputation is part of the fun. And the reviewer also gives props to the whole concept. 3 different twisted games across the trilogy, all linked, all somehow coming back to Simon. That takes skill.
Definitely. So the big question, read it or skip it? What's the verdict from the review?
It sounds like a definite read it. They call it a dynamic and thrillingly intense end to a great series. High praise for the character connections, the twists, the mysteries, that dramatic ending.
Nice.
And, well, yeah, maybe not every single side character gets a huge send-off. The main players, Addie, Nate, Phoebe, they apparently get the excellent conclusions they deserve.
That's what fans really want to hear, I think.
And interestingly, the reviewer admitted having mixed feelings after book 2, but this finale totally won them over. That says a lot. It recaptured the magic and provided that satisfying ending.
Read it or skip it. Based on this deep dive, the review is leaning heavily towards read it.
Read it or skip it. And maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Considering everything we've talked about, the secrets, the character growth, this satisfying ending does One of Us is Back make the whole Bayview trilogy a must-read if you love that kind of suspenseful, character-focused mystery, especially with a town that's practically a character itself. Something to think about for your reading list.